Hello, Scorpio rising, and welcome to your astrology and tarot forecast for the full moon on August 19th. If you're new to this channel, welcome. My name is Lisa Merrifield. I'm with Trails Edge Astrology, and on this channel, I help busy people make good, informed decisions by providing grounded, practical advice on how to align with the cosmic energy. If you're interested in knowing more specifically how this energy will impact you, I do personal readings, and my website link is in the bio. Feel free to find me over there. I also offer a membership that lets you get a personal reading that's very much of this style with the astrology and the tarot together every month. That will open up in November, so stick around if you're um, or subscribe to the channel, stick around to on the channel, and I'll tell you more about that as we get closer. And of course, I always like or a comment. That is um, helpful for me to know that you're out there and that you're enjoying this content. And it helps other people find me and helps the algorithm know that this is worthwhile. So, with that, let's get going on our reading for this full moon in Aquarius, which is exact on August 19th. So every August we have a full moon in Aquarius. So the sun is in Leo, the moon is in Aquarius. And so every August we have that energy. And for Scorpio risings, that's very much about the public and your private life. So your external persona and the foundations on which all of that grows. So that's really the dichotomy that we look at every full moon in Aquarius. This full moon in Aquarius is hopped up on goofballs. It, first of all, is square Uranus. So we've had some squares to Uranus. We've had Mercury square Uranus. We've had Venus square Uranus. And now Mercury retrograde will square Uranus, and the full moon will square Uranus. And for Scorpio risings, that adds an element of relationships to this whole picture. So you've got your career, your work life, your public life. You've got your very private foundations, your homes, your family. Um, at odds, looking at that balance. And then there's something about relationships that might kind of stir the pot on this with this full moon energy. So, so it's a lot. It, it really, yeah, with Uranus in the mix, there's something about liberation or freedom seeking. Um, the hard thing about Uranus is sometimes it can be a little chaotic. Sometimes it can like throw a curveball in. Ultimately, Uranus's goal is to relieve tension, is to make sure that whatever, wherever there's calcification or, something is just too stuck, that wherever the path of least resistance is, that path opens up. But it's not always very pretty. And so that makes me wonder how this is going to show up for all of us um, come Monday. Um, but we'll see. Let's see. I also wanted to mention that so Uranus has been really active the last, well, all year basically. In April, we had the Jupiter Uranus conjunction, which brought about um, new beginnings, new openings. Jinx is going to join us. We'll see how that goes. New beginnings, new openings. Um, yes. So what did that look like for you? How did that show up? Then in July, we had the Mars Uranus conjunction, where we activated some of that energy. See, you mean uh, sorry about that. All right, let's hope he finds himself a place to sit over there. Um, so yeah, so then in July, that energy was activated again and potentially stirred up. So you might think back to like what was happening in that time because it was happening in that space of committed relationships for you. Um, so all that is interesting and and adds a certain flavor to this full moon, the kind of a surprising, um, releasing, liberating kind of flavor to this full moon. But that's not really even the bulk of what I think is happening this for this time period, and what really makes me interested and what it made me want to do special readings on this. The piece that I'm particularly interested in is we've got something called a T-square forming in the sky at the same time as the full moon. So we'll have Venus opposite Saturn, all square Jupiter and Mars. And so Venus is in Virgo, Saturn is in Pisces, and Jupiter and Mars are in Gemini. And so that adds definitely another dynamic to this full moon energy, different than Uranian energy, which again pushes us towards liberation and freedom and kind of like looks for places to relieve tension. But this aspect um, adds a different kind of tension. And I'm not going to tease out the whole thing and how T squares work and release, but I do want to mention the Jupiter Saturn square piece of that T square because back in December of 2020, Jupiter and Saturn came together in the sky at 0 degrees of Aquarius. Um, and Jupiter and Saturn come together every 20 years and start a new cycle. Jupiter and Saturn are the structures in our lives. So I like to think of it as like a balloon. So Saturn is the latex, the part of the the sheath of the balloon. You need that in order to have a balloon. You need that structure or that limit. Um, and then Jupiter is the air you blow into it. So Jupiter expands and expands and expands to the point where it gets to that limit of the structure. And if you didn't have the limit of the structure, the balloon, um, which is Saturn, like there you would just be blowing air, and there would be no place for it to. It wouldn't do anything. So you need both pieces. So that's the kind of thing that a Jupiter and Uranus conjunction does in our lives. It puts some structures in place, and then it gives us the expansiveness to fill them up and to grow into that space. So December 2020, those two came together at 0 degrees of Aquarius. Now, for the last 200 years, every Jupiter Saturn cycle, with the exception of one in the 80s, had been happening in Earth signs. So societally, we had the Industrial Revolution over the last 200 years as this Industrial Revolution where our concept of wealth and our concept of corporations and our concept of, what kind of house you need and what kind of car you need and all of those things were formed or transformed into, something that was different than before. Um, when we had Jupiter and Saturn come together in Aquarius, we moved into a new cycle, which is an air cycle. So for the next 200 years, Jupiter and Saturn will meet in air, which means we are building structures around ideas and communication, thoughts, any of those kind of heady things, relationships, in fact, like how we communicate with each other. And so is this the formal step into the information age? And it'll be interesting to see if our sense of values changes as these two come together and continue to meet in the air sign. So that's the really long term picture. But for this cycle, we have a Jupiter Saturn square, which means 3.5 years ago, Jupiter and Saturn met in the sky. So that was a new seeding moment in Aquarius. Um, and now, 3.5 years later, we have the first crisis point. So in any cycle, we have the point where they meet, and then some period later, there is a square. And so that square um, gives us an opportunity to think about what we've been building and how we might need to adaptively manage or adjust that in order to make sure we are getting where we need to go, getting where we desire to go. And so that's where we are right now. We're at this first square, this first kind of crisis, like, how do we take it into the next step? So, all this is to say, I am inviting you with this full moon, where we have some Uranian energy, some kind of like desire for liberation, to think about what happened on December of 2020, or in December of 2020, December, January, and around that time. What was seeded at that point? What have you built since then? And what does it need? How does it need to be adjusted? So that's the piece of this full moon that I'm most, I think, interested in and excited about because it's the longest ranging of all of this. Um, the Uranus square might have more of a wow factor, but there's some tension that I think you can work through with this cycle. Now, Jupiter and Saturn, because of retrograde cycles, are going to square 3 times over the next year. So this is just the initial look at what needs to be adjusted. So you're going to be adjusting something over the next year to continue building into this Aquarian cycle. Pluto right now is at 0 degrees of Aquarius, so it's at that sensitive point where Jupiter and Uranus met. So there's some transformational energy in there. Um, yeah, I'm super interested to see what comes from it, and I think it's worth just spending a little time with thinking about how that might show up for you, how you want it to show up for you. What do you need to change? What do you need to alter? What how can you step into this energy and really work with it effectively? All right. So let's go on and pull cards. And I'm going to do a 5 card spread today. And I am specifically looking at this Jupiter Saturn square, like what needs to be adjusted based on what that looks like for you. You can set the time period. You could if you have a question about the lunar cycle or something shorter term, all good. You can focus on what you want. Um, but the questions I'm going to ask are related to kind of this broader scale. So because this is a general reading and because we work with divination, like we are both active participants in it, you can ask a different question if you want to, or think about a different time period if you want to. So think about the first adjusting point in this 20-year cycle, or think about this moon cycle, or whatever it is going on in your life right now that you want to think about in terms of this. So we'll do a 5 card spread here. um, we are going to use the Mind's Eye Tarot by Olivia Rose because I think it's beautiful. And I'm going to pause and shuffle cards, and I'll be right back. Right, I am back. And you got some interesting cards, Scorpio rising. All right, so what have you manifested since the Great Conjunction, since Jupiter and Saturn came together in at 0 degrees of Aquarius in December of 2020? And you, my friends, got the Magician. So the Magician is like the ultimate manifestation card. It is the card that says you have all the tools you need and you are building. You've stepped off the ledge and you are building the next thing. And so whatever it is that came in, it was big, and you have the tools you need to build it. You have been steadily progressing on something. Um, and I suspect that you feel reasonably confident that like you've made some progress on this thing. That that you have at least the foundation pieces. You might not have, maybe it hasn't physically come into form yet, but you have the foundational pieces to move into whatever this next 20-year cycle looks like for you, whatever structures you're trying to build and step into in the next 20 years. So what have you manifested? You have manifested the Magician, the skills, the tools, the move to the next step. All right. What do you need to see at this crisis point? And you got the Lovers. So this is so interesting, being that Uranus is in your 7th house, in your house of relationships. So, so you've got the tools you need to build whatever it is you're trying to build, whether you're physically there yet, or you're just thinking about it. You've got the tools are there, but there's something about relationships that you need to see something about the relationships. This could be business partners, this could be romantic partners, this could be your best friend, any of those things. So there's something about relationships that that is being brought up during this time. It's interesting also because Mars and Gemini are meeting in your 8th house, which is a house of like karmic contracts. So the 7th house is the actual relationship, and then the 8th house is like how you are intertwined and vulnerable in that relationship. And so I think there's something during this cycle, something during this crisis point, that you need to see about maybe a particular relationship, or just the idea of stepping into relationships, maybe allowing yourself some vulnerability, something in that area that that is important for you to see. This can also represent a choice in a friendship or a relationship. Like maybe there's a choice you need to make. Maybe there's a question about, like, do I trust this person? Do I not? Do I take the step with them? And I think this card is saying, I'm not sure, we'll have to look at the rest of the cards to see if it's saying step in or not, but definitely review that space. Like, do you take the step with this person, or do you not? There's something about that you need to see. All right. What do you need to release in order to move on to the next chapter? And you got the 6 of Wands. And the Six of Wands is a card of success. It's not that you're not there yet, but you're on your way. And so there's something about that, maybe that desire for success or that version of what you think success is, or or maybe, is there, yeah, maybe even just letting yourself realize you can be successful. So there's something about um, that movement towards success that you need to release. And is it that you need to release, like, there's one true way, and only one true way, and maybe you need to release that idea. Maybe there's multiple paths. Maybe depending on what you do with this relationship, that path changes. Or maybe it's the fear around success. Do you need to release some kind of like, it's this is scary. It's hard to take the next step. And so I'm just going to sit where I am. Is there something in that space? So something um, about the success piece of this. Like, don't hold on to one vision too tightly, and don't stop yourself because you feel doubts or you're not sure. Well, one of my favorite tricks is, if I can't see all the way to the end, I don't start, rather than just taking the next logical step. And so I think that's what this is saying. Take the next logical step, um, and don't necessarily worry about what the end product looks like in anything but the most general of senses. You have the magician, like, you have the tools you need. You have what you need. Um, it just needs to, just loosen up a little bit on how you get there. All right. Um, what opportunities are getting ready to emerge with this Jupiter Saturn square? And you get the Queen of Cups. So the Queen of Cups is the card of intuition. So queens are internal, introverted. They live into the energy of the suit. And the suit of cups is about emotions, is about intuition, is about um, emotional relationships, emotional intelligence, and so there's something coming in. And so queens, this could also be a person. There might be a person coming into your life. With this lover card, there might be a person coming into your life who really speaks to your heart, and that is going to open up some new opportunities. So it might be a person. It might also be you stepping into that real intuitive space. Maybe it's the giving up on the one true path. This is what success looks like, and stepping into this, like, intuitive space, or this, like, feeling space of, this feels like the next right thing to do, not intellectually, this is the next right thing to do. It could be the same thing, but yeah, put it in your body. Put whatever you're deciding in your heart, or if it's a person showing up, feel into how that feels like, how accepting them into whatever it is you're building and wherever you're going. All right, and the last card is the message from the universe, and you got the Four of Pentacles. So the Four of Pentacles is about, like, holding on to what's yours, and in this case, I feel like the universe is reminding you that you can be intuitive and free, and that you might be too caught up in one true end goal, um, and you're holding on to that a little too tightly. So what happens if you let it go a little bit, and if you just take the next logical step? um, you don't have to hold up the whole structure by yourself. You have tools and people in your life, to help you with whatever it is you're building, whatever time scale it's on, whatever that is. There are people in your life, and you don't have to hold all that in yourself. You can ask for help. You can be vulnerable. You can do some of that eighth house work where Jupiter and Mars are sitting right now. You can do some of that eighth house work, and really feel into that. Saturn's in your fifth house of creativity. Venus is in your 11th house of community and commitment. So there's a lot of energy around that, like, that spark, that next phase, that next step. But it involves you releasing um, releasing some of what you're holding, being willing to be vulnerable, being willing to take a step into partnership and take a step into, um, into that intertwinement that can make the magic really blossom um, in new and interesting ways. So something over the next year, I think there's going to be a person coming in or an opportunity for you to kind of collaborate in a different way that's going to really catapult what you're doing and put it forward. All right, Scorpio rising, I hope this is helpful. And if you're still here, please like, subscribe, comment, share. Let me know you're out there. Let me know you like this. And yeah, I'm curious how it's showing up for you. Good luck. I'll talk to you soon.